Well, as you've heard, the Massachusetts biotech company Moderna launched Phase 3 of its coronavirus vaccine trial Monday. Moderna anticipates enrolling 30,000 U.S. participants. What happens now? How the trials work, from Dr. Dean Fanelli, an expert on pharmaceutical technologies. Doctor, give us a feel for the timeline.
So typically, when you talk about vaccine development or drug development, you're talking 10 years. And these studies, they'll go through preclinical studies that are typically done in cell lines or animals. Once you get satisfactory data there, you move into clinical studies, which are done in people. Now, those studies have typically 3 phases before approval, each of which lasts several years, or could last several years. Phase 1 tests dosage and safety, of course. As they move into Phase 2, if they get positive results, they continue to look at safety and start looking at efficacy. And here, with the drugs or the vaccine candidates that Moderna and Pfizer and BioNTech are moving forward, they're already in Phase 3, 6 months after the genome of the virus was announced. So moving forward incredibly quickly. And this Phase 3 study is the key pivotal study where we'll see, do these vaccine candidates produce these therapeutic antibodies? Do they produce T cells in the body? These are the immune system's soldiers that go after these pathogens. So really incredible developments that we're moving so quickly, but the data and the science so far look very promising.
All right, so the folks who were part of the trial, say, for example, these 30,000 people with Moderna, they get injected and with the potential vaccine, and then others get a placebo, and then they're expected to somehow be exposed to coronavirus, or they just go live their lives and maybe they're exposed? What happens then in terms of how the vaccine is tested?
Yeah, great question. So typically when we do these trials are done, they're randomized, which means people don't know whether they're getting the vaccine, and doctors, in fact, that are administering these candidates don't know whether the subject is getting the vaccine or the placebo. So in 30,000, they probably do 1-to-1, which means half would get the placebo and half would get the active dose. They look at blood samples, making sure that of course, safety is still the primary issue. There's no adverse effects or serious adverse effects. Then they'll take blood samples and see, are there therapeutic antibodies being produced? How long will these, if there are, how long will they last? And you don't necessarily intentionally expose people to the virus. Now, it's prevalent in the U.S., so these candidates will be getting tested if they start to exhibit symptoms of the virus. They'll be tested very quickly to see if they have the virus. But intentionally administering the virus to subjects, that's not what they're doing yet. They're called challenge studies. They're in discussion, but in the U.S., there's obviously a lot of ethical concerns about that. So they won't be doing these challenge studies where they intentionally expose people to the virus. But, when you're talking about 30,000 people, it's likely some of them will be exposed to it, and that'll be a positive test if they to show how the vaccine candidates work.
We're speaking with Dr. Dean Fanelli. He's an expert on pharmaceutical technology, and we're talking about these late-stage vaccine trials for the coronavirus. This accelerated process that we've heard about, where years might be lopped off the testing, is it safe for humans?
Yeah, that's the big question. So far, there's positive. All the safety data that's come in look positive. There have been some adverse effects, but nothing so severe to warrant stopping the study or the studies. And when we're talking about the side effects that they've been seeing, typically, headaches, body aches, nausea, injection site pain, but nothing serious enough that they'd stop it. And that's the billion-dollar question. Will this be safe? And only time will tell. That's why it's so important that these subjects are analyzed and we see, is this safe? But, there's certainly a risk-benefit analysis. We're in a pandemic situation now. We need to get a vaccine candidate to get back to normal. So safety is, of course, a primary issue, but we're also looking at, can we get this efficacy of these candidates up to what we'd expect as quickly as possible. And, in my opinion, things are looking very promising.
Thanks, Dean. Dr. Dean Fanelli, expert on pharmaceutical technologies.
America's First News is online all the time. Follow us on Twitter @ThisMorningShow. Like us on Facebook or send us an email thismorning@compassmedianetworks.com.